All right, let's dive right in. For the next few minutes, I want you to try and forget everything you think you know about success, and especially about failure. We're going to look at life through a totally different lens, one that could seriously change how you tackle every challenge and every goal from here on out. So let's start with a big question. What if life isn't this series of scary tests that you either pass or fail? What if it's more like a game? You know, a game where the whole point isn't to be perfect, but just to evolve, to get a little bit better with every single move you make. And get this, in this game, your mistakes, they aren't penalties. They don't take you out of the running. In fact, they're the complete opposite. They're clues. They're like little puzzles that reality gives you, showing you exactly what you need to work on to level up. Seriously, this one little shift in how you see things, it's the key to everything we're about to talk about. Okay, so if life is a game, there have to be rules, right? Well, yeah, but not the kind of rules you get in a textbook. Think of them more like the laws of physics, the unwritten principles of reality that kind of govern how things turn out. And learning how to play by those rules, that's the secret to playing the game well. This quote from Ray Dalio really nails it. He says, "Time is like a river, and it's always pushing you forward straight into these encounters with reality. You can't stop it. You can't pause the river. The only thing you actually have control over is how you decide to navigate when you hit those rapids or those calm spots. The choices you make. That's the whole game." And that brings us to two totally different ways you can approach that river. Most people take the path of idealism. They wish the river was different, they get angry at the rocks, they fight the current. But there's another way, a much more powerful way, hyperrealism. That's where you accept the river for exactly what it is, and you learn how to use its currents to get where you want to go. So, what is hyperrealism really? Well, it's not about being cynical or giving up on your big dreams. Just the opposite. It's the most practical way to actually achieve them. It just means being brutally honest about what's true, about the world, about other people, and yeah, about yourself, so you can find the best path to your goals. And this image right here gets to the heart of it. Every single problem puts you at a fork in the road. You can avoid the harsh truth, try to ignore it, and stay exactly where you are. Or you can face it head on and actually start to grow. And this isn't a one-time thing. It's a choice you're making all day, every day. All right, so let's look at how this mindset actually works in practice. Because hyperrealism isn't just a nice idea, it's a system. It's a repeatable loop that lets you take all those messy encounters with reality and turn them into fuel for your own personal evolution. And here it is. This is the simple formula that drives the whole engine. Pain plus reflection equals progress. That feeling of frustration, of hitting a wall, of messing up, that's the pain. But it's not just a bad feeling to get away from. It's a signal. It's reality screaming, hey, pay attention. There's something important to learn right here, right now. If you can just train yourself to reflect on that pain, instead of running from it, that's where all progress comes from. So we have to stop thinking of mistakes as failures. I mean, we're all taught in school to have this mistake phobia, right? To be terrified of getting things wrong. But a hyperrealist sees that inside every single mistake, there's a puzzle. And if you're brave enough to open it up and solve it, you find a gem, a principle that will help you avoid that same problem for the rest of your life. And here's the nuts and bolts of how you solve those puzzles. It's this 5-step loop. First, you've got to have clear goals. You need to know what you're aiming for. Second, you identify the problems, the things getting in your way. That's where you feel that pain from the formula. Don't run from it. Third, and this is crucial, you diagnose those problems to find their real root causes. This is the reflection part. Don't just slap a Band-Aid on it. Fourth, you design a new plan to get around that root problem. And finally, number 5, you got to do the work and push through to get it done. Then you start the loop all over again, only this time you're smarter. Okay, this all sounds pretty logical, doesn't it? So what stops us? Why doesn't everyone operate this way? Well, it turns out the biggest roadblock isn't some external thing, like a hard class or a tough situation. Nope, it's inside each of us. Your toughest opponent is your own ego. And here is the ego's #1 trap. It's when you start caring more about looking smart and successful than you care about actually being smart and successful. When your ego is in charge, you can't admit you have a weakness. You can't admit you messed up. And think about it. If you can't even admit there's a problem, how are you ever going to fix it? This brings us to another huge choice you have to make. Are you going to blame other people or your circumstances and just let yourself off the hook? Or are you going to hold yourself accountable for the outcome? And look, accountability isn't about beating yourself up. It's about empowerment. It's about realizing that you have the power to change things. And that's what makes that 5-step process actually work. Here's a really helpful way to think about this. Imagine you have two selves. There's you, the worker, who's down in the trenches every day doing the work. But then there's you, the designer, who can kind of float above it all and look at the whole machine objectively. The designer asks, is this working? What part needs to be tweaked? To really evolve, you have to learn how to be that calm, objective designer of your own life. All right, enough theory. How do you actually start building this hyper-realist muscle? Because like any skill, it's all about practice. So here are 3 super simple, low-stakes habits you can start literally tomorrow morning. Okay, here they are. Habit 1, ask, is it true? Just pick one thing you believe, an assumption you have, and honestly question if it's really, truly a fact. 2, welcome pain. The next time you feel that wave of frustration about something, stop. Don't run. See it as a signal and just spend 2 minutes thinking about what might be the real cause. And 3, stress test an idea. Find one smart person you trust, share an idea you have, and literally ask them to poke holes in it. Ask them to tell you why you might be wrong. So as you practice these little habits, you'll start having these small breakthroughs. You'll start collecting those gems we talked about from solving your mistake puzzles. The final step is to take those gems and organize them into your own personal principles for how you want to live. And it all kicks off with this simple but deep question. What do you value most? Your principles are what connect your values to your actual everyday actions. So you have to know what those values are first. Is it honesty, creativity, learning? Get specific. Here's a quick little exercise. Step 1, just write down your top 3 to 5 values. Then, for each of those values, create a simple if-then rule. This is how you turn a big, vague idea like honesty into a concrete guide for what to do when you're facing one of reality's choices. For instance, let's say one of your big values is learning. A principle for that could be, if I make a mistake, then I will spend time diagnosing it instead of just hiding it or getting embarrassed. See how that works? It's not someone else's rule book. It's your rule built on your values. And over time, you build a whole collection of these, and that becomes your personal playbook for the game of life. So, we end up right back where we started, with a choice. Every single struggle, every problem, every bit of pain you feel, it's just an opportunity wearing a disguise. It holds the key to your greatest growth. So the only real question left is, what will you choose to learn today?